Hi,
Hi, welcome to our podcast.
I'm Karin,
And I'm Gloria.
and we are here for the company, where we sit down once a week. We're childhood friends, born and raised in the same town. Actually, we can talk about that, but we're raised in the same town through high school, and then now we sit down and we talk about crazy things like the Karen Reed trial, which is what we're talking about this week.
And what's really beautiful about doing a podcast together is that we went from talking maybe a couple times a year to literally talking every single day.
I do think we go through periods of we'll go through like a few weeks of talking
Yeah.
regularly, and then but yes, this has been the most regular we've talked
Oh,
in
yeah, for sure.
years,
And then
for
we
sure.
talk every weekend,
Mm-hmm.
like actually have a conversation, which is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. We send each other texts throughout the day like,
Yeah.
did you just see what happened in court? No. Cool.
Or, hey, we have to do this, this, and this for the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I think I managed to gather some data this week or intel because I was like, so much happened this week.
Yeah. And before we start, let me just preface this. I mostly watched and took notes on day 25, which was Monday. I did not do any notes for Tuesday or the rest of the week. Just Monday. So I know a little bit of what happened, but I did not watch all of court.
Literally, you didn't have to. I'm going to give you.
Well, bro, like the witnesses that were on there, you did not have to watch the whole testimony.
This week was wild.
Yeah. I did
So
see some of the like wild parts where it was like, ooh, this is rough.
yeah, so prosecution rested 2 weeks ago, and we talked about this in our last episode. And then, so what happens after prosecution rests? Now, mind you, prosecution bears the burden. They have to prove everything.
Yeah.
Everything. They have to prove she hit him. They have to prove how. They have
Mm-hmm.
to prove that's what he died from. I I don't think they proved they even believe that that's what happened.
Right.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
And I do say the last trial, the defense brought
Mm.
up a million different things. They were like, there's a conspiracy theory, everyone's blah, blah, blah. Anyways, this time they've done really good at not saying the words conspiracy theory. They've
Yeah.
been solely focusing on it.
Evidence and
Did that happen? Yeah.
accuracy. Yeah.
And what could have happened. Well, and protocols, right? Like the police
Yeah.
doing the right thing. Okay. So,
Which didn't happen.
right.
Are we jumping right into this?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
well, how was your week?
My week was good. Made some bread. My toddler is gonna be 2 in November, so I think the tantrums have started.
Mm,
So that's been fun. But my oldest had her 8th grade promotion on Friday. So that was really good. But I don't think it hit me till Saturday morning when I was looking at the pictures from the previous night. I was like, "Oh
yeah.
my god." And then I got a little a
Yeah.
little sad. And then yesterday I went to my niece's play. She did, I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I had never heard of it. It was called The Guy Who Doesn't Like Musicals or something like that.
Nope.
It was really funny. It was a good time, but I didn't get home till 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'm surprised I'm alive
Yeah.
right now.
1 o'clock is late.
Dude. And having to drive, I was not okay last night.
Yeah, I get
Also,
that.
I've had an eye twitch in my right eye since last Sunday,
Oh no.
and it will not leave.
Are you
What's happening?
stressed?
Who isn't? I have 4 kids. How was your week?
It was good. Trying to think, even remember it. It was good though. And Sean and I went out last night. So my sister-in-law, Sean's sister, and
Mhm.
us, we got married like 6 weeks apart. So last night
okay.
was their anniversary, and our anniversary is July 18th. So we both went out last night. My ADHD brain exploded a little bit because we had a restaurant picked and
Uh-huh.
I had already looked at the menu and everything. He texted us like an hour beforehand and changed the restaurant to a
Oh
different
no.
city.
Oh my gosh.
And it's a restaurant that only takes cash. So
Oh,
it was quite the
that's
adventure, but it was
interesting.
so good. We were home by 9.
What kind of restaurant was it?
It was a steakhouse. It's actually they're rated like
Mm.
I think he said like in the top 10 steakhouses in the US. They're
Oh,
number 9.
nice. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
that sounds delicious.
It was super good. And then it started to rain. They drove their motorcycle there, so they had to go.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. So,
Did they have to drive in the rain?
they probably beat the storm because they weren't far from home. So that's why he changed the city. Was originally it was supposed to be in our city.
Oh,
But yeah, so that's what we did last night. And then
that's
today we're just
fun.
hanging out. It is one of Sean's best friends. Everyone flipping has a birthday in June. So it's one of Sean's best friends' birthday today.
Oh,
And we've
nice.
debated going. I don't know if we're going to be able to go because we have to have our pictures taken of our house tomorrow. We're not selling, but we're going to have pictures taken of it tomorrow. And so we
Yeah,
just have to get some stuff cleaned.
situated.
Mm-hmm. We still have last day of school crap everywhere.
Oh, I'm so glad my kids are out of school. Knowing that I don't have to wake up to an alarm tomorrow is the best.
I still do. And I work from home tomorrow and I still have to wake up to an alarm.
Well, you still have to be
Yeah.
present.
Well, the we have to take the kids. So the kids
Yeah.
still go to a program for the summer.
What time does your husband have to go to work?
Tomorrow earlier than normal. Or no, he can take him tomorrow because tomorrow he's just golfing.
Oh,
Yeah. So Friday he went
for
shooting.
work?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Friday he went shooting. He went clay shooting. And then tomorrow he's going golfing. So
what a rough life he lives.
literally, literally, my husband. I'm like, do you
Wow.
ever work? Like, I'm
I wish I could just
kind
go
of jealous.
golfing for work and make money.
Yeah, I don't
Does
know
he
if I
get
would let
paid to
him
go
go.
golfing?
I mean, he gets paid what he gets paid, and then if there happens to be a golf outing they want him to go on in the middle of the day, then he goes.
That's pretty
Like,
cool. Does he like golf?
mm-hmm.
Oh,
He
well.
extra loves clay shooting.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Let's jump
So,
into this freaking Karen Reed update.
yes. So, before we get into anything, I want to start out with my mother-in-law and I hung out like last week, and she goes, "So, whatever happened in that case where the girl ran over her boyfriend?" And for the casual critics out there, I have a statement I've prepared for you that I want you to just
Oh,
think
beautiful.
about. Okay. If you have not been following the Karen Reed case closely, you're missing a lot. It's easy to hear her boyfriend was found outside in the snow and assume she did it. But when you look at the actual evidence and not the headlines, it gets murky real fast. There's testimony that her taillight was mostly intact when the police first saw it. And that's from a police officer, not a part of this police station. There's surveillance showing no feasible way she reversed at 25 miles an hour with another car right behind her. The medical examiner said the injuries were not consistent with being hit by a car. More consistent with a fight.
Yeah.
And even more disturbing, the cops collected the blood in red Solo cups.
So
And then
bad.
left said Solo cups unattended in the Sally port of a police station. Don't even get me started on John O'Keefe's clothes.
Yeah.
Because they set out for what we can only assume and I mean sat out like in a room that every person in the police department had access to for 13 some odd days. And we only can guess that because nobody logged the evidence when it was taken out, who accessed it in between, and when it was put back. It was just laid out to dry.
Wasn't it logged like a month
Yeah.
or two?
They didn't log. That's the problem. And then the cop that testified, and they were like, "Did you put it in the bag?" He goes,
Mhm.
"I must have." Well, how would we know? Oh, there's this little sticker you put on the evidence bag when you put evidence in it, and you put your name, the date, and your signature,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Proctor's was on it. So this guy who claims it is not appropriate for you to put evidence in a bag and have somebody else sign it, claims he put evidence in a bag and had somebody else sign it,
Yep.
allegedly. Okay.
And at that point, it's like, who are you trying to cover for?
Also,
Michael Proctor?
yes. So this is a police officer. They came upon the scene, a police officer who looks like he's been in a fight, and even the officers who arrived on scene said he looked like he'd been put in a fight or was in a fight. They left the scene unsecured and never secured it as a crime scene. They literally just packed up his body, sent everyone home at the end of the day, and collected the snow in the red solo cups, and then they were like, "We're done."
Yeah. The snow and the blood.
Mm-hmm.
Which is baffling to me because I always think like the snow melted. So isn't the blood like watered
Diluted.
down? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where like scientists have to come in and explain, because I don't think we'll ever know the real story, but
Yeah.
it's wild. I just I just hope nothing like this ever happens again.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The same officer who was at the party and that a lot of people think are responsible, we'll get to that later accessed both the car,
Mm-hmm.
the clothes, and because he had access to the car, he had access to the blood alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's not just sloppy, that's shady.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched the trial or read the documents, because there are so many documents, and there's so much that hasn't even come in to this
Yeah.
trial,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's going to. So that's even more wild.
So the reason they do that is that because it didn't matter in the first trial?
I think in the first trial, the prosecutor was not super smart. So he just put it all in. He was just like, I literally think if you heard his opening statement in the first trial, I think he was just like, F this, dude.
Yeah.
This girl didn't do it, but here I am. So I'm just gonna say the words and do the thing. And he is so monotone and so boring. He didn't try and cross-examine anyone, but he brought so much junk into this case
Yeah.
that this time around, I think the prosecution was much more, okay, if they testified to something we don't want in the case, we're not putting them in.
Right.
And if the defense wants to call them, they can call them, but then we get to cross-examine them.
And this is why Michael Proctor still hasn't testified because
And Higgins, because
nobody wants to put them in.
I watched a lawyer that I follow was in the courtroom on Friday, and he said this jury is much younger than the last jury. He said they're paying attention every time like important stuff is on the stand, and they are making faces like, ain't this some bullshit sometimes.
Didn't they get called out by the judge for
that was in the beginning. Yeah. So they did get called out for making faces and laughing and stuff. So I'm sure that's kind of what's happened. Well, this guy says, he goes, whatever was being testified to, he said, I was just making this face like, this shit cannot be real. He said, and I panned over to the jury to see what they were looking like. He goes, and this girl and I made eye contact making the same face.
Oh my
He
gosh,
said,
that
and
is
I just
so funny.
was like, oh, I have to hide my face better. So
right? Dude, me and you could never
no
be in the courtroom on some bullshit like this.
No. So all this to say, if you have not watched the case, if you have not followed it, if you have not done the research, if you are not on the Reddit page, because even there are people on the Reddit page playing devil's advocate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe pause before coming to a conclusion or offering your opinion
Mm-hmm.
as to whether or not she's guilty.
Yeah.
It's bigger than just Karen Reed. There's so much more at play here. There's other cases involved. There's a journalist who's covered this case and tested several of the theories who's actually been arrested. And he actually he's been released, but he's suing the Canton Police Department because they like injured him severely, like gave him a brain injury while arresting him because of his work in this case.
Like, what were they arresting him for?
The O'Keefes accused him of harassment or something. I don't know. It's huge. It's
okay.
His name's Turtle Boy. Go look into him. I don't have time to cover all that. Yeah, he's in the courtroom right now
all the time.
The most part. Yeah.
Yeah. I did see that he was like escorted out of the court because there was like an ex-girlfriend that like
Correct.
had a restraining order.
So get this though. The prosecution tracked that ex-girlfriend down.
Yes.
Convinced her to file a restraining order on him and then brought her into court just to sit there.
So he couldn't be in the courtroom.
So he couldn't be in the courtroom. When the judge has already ruled, let that man be in the courtroom.
Yeah.
She doesn't live in the area. They paid for her to come out.
So freaking crazy, man.
That case goes so deep, but like he's doing the Lord's work, so some of it anyways.
Do you remember?
We don't condone this behavior, though.
No. Do you remember the story that you sent me about, I don't remember, it was somebody high up in the Boston Police Department that just got arrested or fired?
Yeah, and then somebody else got arrested. So, hot take. Okay, let me finish this and then we'll get into hot take. Okay. Just so you know, this case is bigger than Karen Reed. It's more about whether justice can survive when the steps have been so wrong. Like, so much of this case has been messed up intentionally, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think it's really hard to try her whether or not she's guilty. Even if Karen Reed was guilty and it was written all over her, I think this case is such a mess. She should never have been prosecuted.
Same.
Hot take. Gloria and I have a theory that the FBI was never just investigating this case. We believe it's like all of the Boston Police Department, like there's, Camden Police Department, Boston Police Department, Norfolk, all of them. The Norfolk chief of police was arrested 2 weeks ago by the DOJ, which is who investigates, the FBI. Basically brought him up on charges. Police just being arrested everywhere.
Well, my point was that it's not just about this case. It's like you were saying, it's so much bigger. It is so much bigger.
And I found a pretrial hearing. Oh my gosh, I wish I had saved it because I didn't, but it was wild. The defense, Yannetti got up and said in front of the judge, and the judge was nodding and nobody objected. Yannetti said, look, judge, the FBI has already determined, and this is why the jury doesn't see everything.
Yeah.
The FBI has already determined this 2:37 a.m. Google search is real and happened at 2:37 a.m. The FBI says that. But the FBI has a protective order on all of their evidence, even today. So even though they came out and said the investigation is no longer active, even ARCA, the witnesses that came on this week, are still not allowed to say everything they did.
Wow.
And he said that on the stand. There's still protective orders. But I find it very interesting that the FBI, because so what happened was when some of the protective orders were lifted, the defense and the prosecution got ARCA's reports and all other reports associated with the FBI search. The prosecution had the ARCA report at the same time the defense did.
Oh, okay.
and could have easily brought them as their own witness. But it's amazing because the people who do the research for the NHL and the NFL and the DOD say she didn't hit him.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, we don't want you on our side then. I
Exactly.
just find that interesting. I can't wait to show you the crap that I did watch in court this week. So just keep in mind, in all of this, at the end of this, every single person so many people could be arrested, and it could happen that nobody's ever arrested.
I know, which is really sad. Because then there's no
Yeah.
justice
No.
for his death. He died for nothing, basically.
Correct.
So Monday, June 2nd, was day 25 in court. The first witness on the stand was Michael Proctor's friend. I did not get his name.
Michael Proctor. Oh, same. I don't think we should even. Poor guy.
Yeah. I know. I felt so bad for him.
You know what Emily D. Baker said, though?
What?
Don't be in group chats, y'all.
Oh, yeah. She was like, every time people send me group chats, I leave.
This group chat started like 20 years ago. They've texted over 15,000 times. And Emily D. Baker said, remember, anytime in the future, something crazy you've said in a group chat or just for being in it, you can be brought into the court of law and made to read a man's words when he calls a woman a see you next Tuesday.
Which
luckily
is sad,
the judge
too.
didn't make him do that, but
thank God, because those aren't even his text messages, and I thought it was really fucked up that they're making this man who he was like the one in the messages that was like, this is not
weird.
cool. Yeah, like something's funky.
I think they did it that way though.
Yeah.
Because he's the least problematic person.
True.
There were no follow-up questions to ask him.
They were like, we're done.
Yeah.
But he basically just read several text messages within the group chat with the other high school friends. That was it.
Yeah. And they were literally just trying to get those in because no police officer deserves to be able to do that.
Right. So then the second witness that they had was Kelly Dever, who Karn said she was not in the first trial. I believe she was interviewed.
Correct.
They just didn't call her as a witness. She's a police officer who was working for Canton Police Department at the time of John O'Keefe's death. The night the call came in, she actually took over dispatch. So she actually wasn't at the call, which I thought was weird that they called her for that.
So she actually was not a full-blown police officer. She was like through the academy and she was doing ride-alongs. So she was supposed to go on a ride-along.
Well, he asked her, were you a sworn in police officer at the time? And she said yes.
Yes. I think she just wasn't.
She was a sworn in police officer, but he was like, would you call yourself a rookie? And she said yes.
Well, yeah, because she's been in it for 3 years now.
Right.
But at the time.
Right. She was like fresh.
Yes. And she was going on the ride along. They got a homicide or dead body in the snow. I don't know what they called it. They didn't call it noticeably officer down.
Exactly.
Which is interesting because the woman who called it in knew he was an officer and never even said his name.
Yeah. I think we shared that 911 call, didn't we?
Yes.
That 911 call is infuriating.
There's a man asleep in the snow.
Yeah. There's a man. He's in the snow. She's an idiot.
Yes. She is.
So this witness, she looked pissed off that she was even having to be there. And she kept saying, like, I have no idea why I'm here. She stated that she never even talked to anyone before the trial began. She never talked to anyone in the council or anything. since before the first trial, she said.
Correct. So she talked to the defense before the first trial.
Yes.
Told
And
them.
then she said she just got like a notification that she was
being subpoenaed.
Yes. So then as her testimony goes on, you find out that she had made a statement with the FBI, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Then retracted said statement that she'd given, and she says Higgins and I cannot remember the other police officer. Do you remember who it was?
Higgins and Proctor.
Are you
And
sure?
And the chief.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Berkowitz, which I think he has since died.
Oh, shit.
Because
okay.
They also have not called him, and everyone refers to him as he was tall, he was or short, he was this, he was that. Emily D. Baker goes, so I'm guessing he died.
Well, that's sad.
Mm-hmm.
But her statement was about Higgins and Proctor and this other guy being in the Sally port
Mm-hmm.
for, quote,
mm-hmm.
a wild amount of time
Mm-hmm.
with Karen Reed's SUV. And then I noted that Emily D. Baker calls a code red. And she said, ma'am,
Immediately.
You clearly know why you're here. Stop saying you don't know why you're here. You know why you're here. And Emily D. Baker was like shocked. She was like, what? You retracted your statement? And then it goes into like, well, why? Why did you retract your statement? Oh, because the chief might have said, hey, we're trying to cover up some shit.
Do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yep. That was brought up so many times that day in testimony, and it was wild.
Yeah, do the right thing, which is, hey, don't rat on your fellow police officers.
And you can't tell me Brennan doesn't know. Because the amount of times he asked people that day, are you telling me you were told to do the right thing? And I wanted to be like, are you trying to say do the right thing is a bad thing? Or do you know they were threatened?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
I just noted that witness seemed annoyed about being there. And I think
she was mad.
I think it was because she felt like she shouldn't be there. But learning that she retracted a statement that she'd made before. That's why you're there, honey.
Yeah. So I have some things to add about her.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm done with her.
Here's what I think happened. Because the reason she goes on to retract her statement, she says her memory is that is her memory. Even today,
yes,
she remembers them going into the Sally port for a wildly long amount of time or whatever.
Yes.
That's still her memory. She's just calling it a false memory because of the timeline. She kept saying the media gave her, and I was like, girl, what are you doing? Media didn't give you that shit.
Yeah.
Then she says, well, the defense gave me. Okay. You know what's funny about that timeline? We don't actually know what time they had the car.
Yeah, and not only that, she was working overtime. So it's not like she left at a specific time that was her allotted time to work. We don't know what time she left for work.
So she did later in her testimony said, I know for a fact I left at 3:45. You know what I think? I think she left at 6:30 or something.
Yeah.
Or 7 p.m. But I think she thought it was so weird that Higgins and Proctor and the other guy were in that room.
Yeah.
That I do think she told somebody else. Like, she had to have told. Who do you tell, though? Like, you can't tell your superior. She probably told somebody.
Yeah. Well, and then I think about how new she was, and I'm like, maybe she didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe she was
and
scared.
Then the FBI questioned her. Like, yeah, maybe she didn't tell anybody. But then the FBI questioned her, and she was like, thank God they're investigating. I feel better about this.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I saw them. And she states in her statement to the FBI, I thought it was weird that the cop that was at the party was allowed to be around the evidence. What she didn't know was the blood evidence was in there with the car. What she doesn't know is that blood evidence was later found on the taillight pieces. You mean the taillight pieces that they can't prove were broken before they got the car?
Yeah.
It's sad too, because I watched 2 police officers, the Las Vegas PD, react to her. And they said there's a period in her testimony where Yannetti asks her a question. They say, she looks like she's contemplating, do I tell the truth and risk dying?
Yeah,
Allegedly.
that's terrifying. Yeah.
Or do I lie and risk never being credible on the stand again because I'm lying to protect my own ass? And those 2 cops said they would never want her as a partner. They don't trust her because she looks like she knows the truth. And she's been told, due to the timeline that there's no video footage of, and nobody wrote a report. You know who did write a report? The officer who went, I'll bring that up in a minute. Anyways, there's no reports. There's no nothing.
Yeah.
And this girl is like, I don't feel like this is right, says something to the FBI, and then the FBI leave her high and dry.
Right.
Which is sad. But
yeah.
You do whatever.
And then the third witness for that day was Dr. Russell, aka the dog bite expert that they brought in.
Yes.
They go into her degrees and how long she worked at every job she's ever had. It was so boring. I was like, fast forward.
So let me give you some backstory on Dr. Russell. She was first a police officer. Then she became a medical examiner. And you do have to go to medical school for that. She also was an ER physician. Still to this day, a practicing and certified ER physician and surgeon. Yeah. In California, they're certified the same, physician, surgeon. So there's no difference, because if somebody comes in, you have to cut them or you have to do stitches. You need your surgeon's license, right? Okay. Woman has seen, she did LA County. I know so many people in LA County or the Antelope Valley that were bit by dogs.
Right.
When we were kids, because it's probably also the pit bull capital. Like the German Shepherd capital, right? Like,
yeah. Also, nobody has their dogs in their yard or on a leash. I don't know I don't understand.
Never. So she's seen, like she said, thousands of dog bites, but also thousands of people run over by cars.
Yeah. Because she does both.
Think of it this way. She's in the ER. People can come in every day, cannot tell you what is wrong with them. You have to assess the wound, figure out what you think it is, and treat accordingly. If you have someone that comes in with what looks like a car accident, you're assessing for internal.
Right.
You're getting them to CT, MRI, X-ray. You're looking for internal bleeding. If someone comes in and presents with dog bites, you're giving antibiotics, you're giving rabies, whatever, shots. You're giving tetanus. Like, she would be able to look at this man, look at his wounds, and be like, dog bite, move on.
Yeah. She's studied the inside of a dog's jaw, their teeth.
Seeing how they bite?
No, yes.
Oh, that's what I meant to do. I meant to pull up other examples of dog bites. They match. That's all I have to. I looked them up. I just didn't say
another thing that I thought was weird. They don't have a picture of the inside of his arm, do they?
No, because there's no damage to the inside of his arm. But she goes on to explain, when a dog is trying to bite you and you're moving, a lot of the times the teeth are only scraping one side.
Right.
So
which is what it looks like.
Yes.
They go into a lot of talk about her methodology of dog bites and procedure of how she goes about accurately determining if it's a dog bite or not. And the whole talk about the methodology, I think it was Brennan that was asking her questions.
Yes.
And it was just annoying me.
Mm-hmm.
He was just like,
Because
oh,
he's mean.
well, yeah, because he was like, well, is there like a specific place that you go that tells you exactly information? And she's like, no, but that is also said for a lot of the things in the medical community is like, there's methodologies, but there's not a specific book or like a specific thing to be like, this is what it is for everything.
Right.
There's certain
Like,
things that is
literally-
just, you just have to go by a methodology and that's just what it is. There's articles.
Yeah.
She's like, here, I'll give you these articles. And he kept like going in circles with her. And I was like, guy, just move on.
Several times he asked her, have you ever been to a dental conference? And she'd say yes. And he'd say, just for dogs? Doesn't exist. Doesn't exist, dude. If you go to a dental conference to study teeth, there's going to be a speaker on humans, a speaker
Yeah.
on dogs, a speaker on infants, or, you know, old people. Also, who the hell goes to those? The fact that she's been to any.
Right. Is like baffling in itself. They go over like the marks on his arm, his injuries. And she believes those are, in fact, dog bites on his arm. She says it several times because they keep fucking asking her.
I want to show you guys, though, that picture real quick so we can just remember what John O'Keefe's arm looked like.
Okay. She says the marks look as though through the action of the dog or the combination of the dog and the victim pulling away. She says without a doubt that that's what it looks like. It looks like a dog was trying to bite and the person was moving, because obviously as humans, that is going to be our first, what word am I looking for?
Line of defense, or like instinct.
Instinct. Yeah. It's our first instinct to be like, oh, this dog is trying to bite us. Let's pull our arm away or whatever.
100%.
Yeah. I'm not going to let some dog bite me. And can you imagine being, because in my opinion, a fight broke out. This man got beat up. Okay. And could you imagine in the middle of a fight with a human or several humans, who knows? And then some dog is biting your arm. Just chaotic. The doctor says many times that she believes these marks on O'Keefe's arm are from a dog. And when asked if she thought injuries that looked like these would be made by a car accident, she said no.
The best part was Dr. Welcher, who is the prosecution's expert recreationist,
Right.
accident reconstructionist. He included in his slides an example of a car accident at like 26, 27 miles an hour. The injuries were widespread all over the body.
Yeah.
And she was able to bring that up in her testimony and say that is what a car accident looks like.
Yeah.
These on just the arm and then two black eyes and a cut to the back of your head.
Yeah.
Are not a car accident.
Especially like where the injuries are on his body.
Yeah.
The fact that nothing is on his torso.
Nothing.
It's like, okay, was he standing there with his arm out like this and she just hit his arm? No.
And he has like a bruise on his knee. Well, also, it's barely a bruise.
I don't think I saw that.
I think
Did I have
even
pictures
she
of it?
questioned if it was a bruise or if it was like lividity. It was like blood pooling in the body.
Yeah,
but because she didn't do.
They asked her a lot about that.
Yeah.
On his arm as well. Because they were like, is this a bruise or what is this? What do you identify it as?
Yeah. It's insane.
They go on to identify his hoodie that he was wearing when he was found. There were holes in his sweater, and she determined the shape of the hole was due to the tooth of the dog puncturing the fabric, hitting the skin, and then pulling on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it looked like a little bit of the fabric was a little frayed on one end of the hole. And I believe that there was like 9 different markings in his sweater.
Let me count. I have them up right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 2 like on his chest
Oh, I forgot about those.
area. So dog, you know, and
Could
then
have been nails.
just on his left arm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then on day 26, the whole beginning of Brennan examining her, dude. I was like, when he was like, "Do you have memory issues?" And she went, I was like, "Oh no." I kind of felt bad for her in that moment. Brennan was like, "Oh, is it true that you sought after this case? That you contacted so and so that you knew so you can get on the case?" And she was like, "I wanted to help.
This
I
woman wanted
saw
nothing to do with this case
no."
other than the fact that she knew that it wasn't a car accident.
She was like, "I know that I know my shit
Right.
and that I've done extensive research on these specific things, and I wanted to lend my expertise and I wanted to help.
Mm-hmm.
That's it."
Yeah.
And there was like a website mentioned where she was like offering her services, and they were trying to make it seem like she was like using the case, and she's like, "No, but since I've done this,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to further what I'm doing and do more and help more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm offering that as a service. Hey, I'm an expertise in this."
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "I didn't mention the case."
Mm-hmm. So this is actually what I do for a living is help doctors update their CVs
Mm-hmm.
and their profiles for stuff like that. Not necessarily for the subject of testifying, but I help them update them regardless. And the minute she would have testified, or the minute she would have finished wrapping up the first trial,
Yeah.
this would have been added to her CV and her profile. Of course, it wasn't added. She never names the case specifically. So she's
No.
not saying like renowned expert of
Yeah,
Chloe
she's like,
O'Keefe
oh wait,
or
look at
Chloe
me. Look at
Halbert.
me. Look at, I did this
No.
really cool case. No. She's just like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I
I
can
will
testify
say
for you."
the ability of she had to and
I
then
went right into like
not
answering.
jump
I
off that
know.
stand because
How
I
do
dare
people do
you.
this?
I dare if when my grandma was alive, if you had been like, "Ma, are you sure you're remembering that right?" You might have got a fist to the face. Okay. You can't ask old ladies that.
Yeah, I felt bad for her in that moment. And I don't think she has memory issues. That woman seems like one of the smartest people. She's got degree after degree after degree.
What I do think she struggled with
Yeah.
is for she is up there like, Lord Jesus, somebody admit this is a dog bite or a dog
Yeah.
attack or a dog thing, right? What she has struggled with and what he did call her on is the progression of this case. But he didn't say this, of course. She has
Right.
been allowed to testify about more and more. It
Mhm.
started out, she wasn't allowed to testify that it was a dog. So she testified that it was an animal. That was
Right.
court ordered. Then she testified that it was a dog, possibly a canine. Then now it's like this time on the stand, she kept saying dog attack. And she's never written that in her report before. She says dog bite or dog scratch. To her, they're synonymous.
Right.
If a dog is biting me, it's attacking
me. Yeah.
But when you testify, it has to be so specific. So I
Right.
do understand that because you can't testify to things you haven't already told them about.
Right.
So if you're testifying to an attack, whatever, tomato, but
yeah, I felt like in some instances of the testimony too,
mhm.
she was like giving too much information.
Yeah.
It was like certain questions were like you could have just said yes and just left it at that and you didn't have to explain yourself. I feel like once you try to explain yourself, it almost feels like you're lying.
Yeah, like just move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say I'm looking at these holes right now and they are like they're just a hole in like a tooth would make in the sweater. Like so that comes up again in the defense witnesses, the ARCA witnesses because they like in their final testing
Right.
show how the sweater is like destroyed from road burn. And Brendan goes, well, isn't that what John O'Keefe's sweater looked like? And the guy's like, no, bro. Nope. Yeah. Okay. So what witness was that? That was, yeah. And she's so sweet too.
She is. That was the beginning of day 2.
Mm-hmm.
I did see some of the ARCA witness, but I think that was Friday.
Yeah. So in between them are.
There was the plow driver.
Lucky.
Yes. I felt
that
bad
poor
for
man.
him too. I know. I
So
watched
his
a little bit
wife-
and I was like, man, this guy just wants to fucking live his life.
Mm-hmm. His wife must have died leading up to the first trial.
Oh.
Yeah. So he keeps getting asked by Brennan, haven't you seen that you've been threatened by bloggers and blah, blah, blah? And he's like, no. He's like, you have, because he's bringing Turtle Boy into it.
Yeah.
Because Turtle Boy wrote a thing about Lucky, you should do the right thing. And I think he meant it in a way that was actually do the right thing.
Yeah.
So Brennan kept trying to make it.
Not, hey, lie on the stand.
Correct. So I actually have the timeline of the plow truck. Basically, he gets on the stand and says he has this giant plow truck that he uses. And he started plowing at like 3 a.m. And while he was plowing, he saw the road at certain points throughout the evening. So he says at 2:45, he does his first pass. Here's what Lucky says are his rules when he's driving. And they showed what it looks like out his truck. He can see everything. He can see literally everything. Says rules are avoid pedestrians. God forbid any animals. So avoid all things.
Yeah.
So he does his first pass at 2:45 a.m. The Alberts is on his right. And he sees nothing in the lawn by the flagpole. He sees open road. So 2:45 a.m. everyone has supposedly left.
Yeah.
Right? Because everyone's back home, supposedly.
That's what they say.
Yep. He goes to the end of Fairview, left on Chapman, backs up, and then he comes back down Fairview. So he does a 3-point turn, back down Fairview. Now the Alberts are on his left. He sees nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Before 3:15. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, nothing on lawn. Then he leaves. He comes back at 3:15 to 3:30 to do his second pass. This time the Alberts are on his left. He sees a Ford Edge by the flagpole. So there's now a car. The Alberts own several Ford Edges. Like everyone friggin' owns one. So there are rules when he's plowing. This is how small of a town this is. That when there are cars on the road, you're actually supposed to call your supervisor. And they're supposed to call and have that person move their car. But it's the Alberts. And he knew it was the Alberts. And in his head, he said, those are their first responders. I'm not going to follow the rules. I'm going to let them park where they want to park for right now. I'll handle it later.
Yeah.
So he only plows the left side of the road. Then he says the snow starts falling more. Ford Edge is still by the flagpole. So he's like, I'm still just not going to mess with it. I'm going to go around the vehicle on the left. So when he comes back, turns around, goes down the road, he avoids along the Ford edge.
Right.
Still nothing on the lawn visible as he passes, but of course he's restricted. He can't see what's right behind the Ford edge. But
Right.
anyways, goes at the end, car blocked his view is what he says. His next pass is at 5:30. He pulls up to do a pass, and this was actually played. The dash cam footage from this is played, and they can see his plow. He comes down to pass the road at 5:30, and he sees first responders down the road, so he chooses not to pull down the road. And Brennan was like, how come your times are so off? And he goes, sir, my times are not off. It's just I know my routine, right? Like I know when I did the roads. So Brennan pulls up the dash cam footage, and then he goes, see, that's me. And Brennan goes, he pauses the video. He goes, but how do you know that's you? He goes, because it's my big ass plow truck, you dumbass. No, he doesn't say that, but he should have. Anyways, so this is basically confirmed, and there's some arguments over how he's messed up times over the days, but like he knows he got in his plow truck at 3:00, right?
Yeah.
He knows he started plowing, and he knows the order in which he did the road, and he knows there was no body in the lawn. And for a 6'1" man to be laying in the lawn, and the snow was not crazy yet. It was not like full blown enough to cover a body.
Yeah.
It was barely covering the grass. No body.
And I believe him because he is not involved. He's not.
Oh. The Canton police never tracked this man down.
Of course not.
It was, I think it might have been the FBI. It was wild. It might have even been Turtle Boy who tracked him down and gave him to the defense. Like, honestly, because someone was like, the plows were out.
Yeah.
The police never took the time to see if a plow driver had gone down.
Right.
Drives me absolutely up the wall.
Crazy, because if it's a blizzard, like they say it is, obviously they're going to need somebody to plow the freaking roads.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've lived there for however long you've lived there, come on. You know that the freaking plow driver's out there plowing at fucking 4 a.m.
Oh, yeah. It's illegal to park your car in the road when the plow's coming. In California, we didn't have plows because it never snowed, but we had street cleaners. Remember those?
Yes. And not all the time. Are you kidding me? It was like once in a blue moon. Lancaster is like every other Thursday or something.
Really?
They have street cleaners. Yeah. I know, because I've gotten a ticket at my sister's house. Oopsies.
Shady.
I know.
I think the most impactful part of his testimony to me was Brennan was trying to just get him like to admit he was lying. And he goes, I was just somebody doing my job.
Mm-hmm. This
poor and now man. I'm here.
Also, what a cool name. Your name is Lucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the next person they called, his name is Barros. And he's Officer Barros. I don't know what they all call them. He's a cop. Okay.
Yeah.
So Karen Reed's parents didn't live in Canton. So Canton police were not the overseers of the jurisdiction. Well, if you're coming into a jurisdiction, you need to alert the other police that you're there, and they have to be present. So this police officer worked for that county or that area. He came out. He met Proctor. He said it was weird because Proctor was in a private car. It was not a cop car. It was just a personally owned truck, which they've explained as we needed a car good in the snow. But then you come to find out they all drive trucks anyways. So it's like, was your car not good in the snow? I'm confused. Yeah. But anyways, he explains that Proctor went inside. They explained that this woman had been involved in a car accident. They needed to take her car. Tow truck was there. This officer's there. While Proctor goes inside to talk to Karen Reed and her family, this officer stays outside, circles her car, and looks at damage.
Yeah.
And he says the only piece missing is like a piece this big. He says about the size of a dollar bill from her taillight in the top right-hand corner. When he's shown the picture of Karen Reed's taillight in the Sally port, in the one they use, I'm just going to save this image in the Google Doc still.
Okay.
And then I'll add them in post. Why isn't it saving? He says, this picture right here, he says this little part is the part that is pictured as being intact on the head on the taillight. Damn taillight is the piece that was missing. And the rest of the pieces that are now missing were intact.
So obviously, there's some suspicious things going on.
Because you have to think about it, right? This is the only guy who is not involved in the police department. He's the third party witness who has no reason to lie. Right. And what's crazy is in the first trial, he was brought to testify by the prosecution. He was never asked what he saw, only that he was there. I don't know that for fact, okay? I'm just bringing it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, this picture is wild because according to him, the piece that was missing was the size of a dollar bill, and the piece that is intact on Karen Reed's taillight in the Sally port is the size of the dollar bill. And I still wonder why nobody has ever taken Karen Reed's vehicle and run it back into John O'Keefe's and showed us where it would hit.
Yeah, I agree. Also,
because I have a feeling.
Well, and then I think about his car, like when she backs up and hits his car on video. Wouldn't his car have damage as well?
Not necessarily. I don't think she hits it that hard.
No, she doesn't. She just like backed into it a little bit. Yeah. It was a love tap. I did see in the document a picture of your husband and you.
Oh yeah, because that was last night. So I thought I would add that as our weekend recap.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you were trying. I thought you were trying to determine the taillight with how tall he is. I was like, oh, she getting into it.
Which is what the prosecution witness did. So that's another thing. But did you see the pictures I put in there from Microbits about what the lawn looked like? So here's my thing on that. I'll put them here for you guys to see. So a YouTube company or a YouTube channel called Microdots or Microbits or whatever they are created these. So in this scenario, Karen Reed's car is parked in front of the house. And then the truck picking up the girl from inside is behind Karen Reed. So the man inside this truck has testified that when he drove to leave, Karen Reed was alone in the vehicle and nobody was in the yard. So I want you guys to look at this picture. And I want you to tell me if Karen's alone in the car and he is watching the house and he is watching people come in and out of that house. His sister comes in and out of that house.
Yeah.
He's watching the yard. His headlights are on. Karen's headlights are on. Karen's taillights are on. He also says he sees Karen's taillight red. Not broken.
Right. Because most of it's like gone. Most of the red part of her taillight is gone.
In the Sally port. In the photo I just had up a minute ago. Or will have up a minute ago.
Literally,
so,
there's like no red.
I struggle to look at this photo and think he wasn't in the house.
Yeah. And you know when you're waiting for somebody, like you're picking somebody up, you're looking at the door.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, where are they? Are they here yet?
Also, his sister called him about 30, 40 minutes before this and said, I want to come home. Come get me.
Yeah.
He comes, texts her and says, I'm here. She comes outside and said, actually, I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
The next day, Jennifer McCabe calls these two and says, show me the text messages you guys have from last night. And reviews their messages and screenshots them. So she knows what time these two were texting and what they were saying. And I can't help but wonder, why would she need to know that?
Right. Exactly.
And why does she still have evidence of it? Like, so weird.
Also,
So weird to me.
she's not a fucking cop.
No.
Talking about my text. I'd be like, fuck you. Let me see your text messages.
Yeah.
Bring up your history.
It is interesting. This picture just gets me every time because I'm like, bro.
Looking at the key players in the Karen Ray trial picture.
Yes.
It baffles my mind that like half of these people have not even been called on stand.
Yes. So
I'm sorry. If you're doing a retrial of somebody, shouldn't you still put forth all the fucking people that are involved in this case? Anyone that was at that fucking house, you should be on there.
So people have mentioned, so I'll post this here and you guys can pause it and look at it for a minute. People that are not going to be brought to the stand, that we're pretty sure are not going to be brought to the stand. Brian Albert Jr., Brian Albert Sr., Brian Higgins, Chris Albert, Colin Albert, Courtney Proctor. I don't think she's ever been brought. Julie Albert, Kevin Albert. Shit, Matthew McCabe, was he brought? Proctor, no.
I don't remember Matthew McCabe.
I love that they put Turtle Boy in here as if he's connected to these people, and it's like, no, he's a journalist.
Also, he's not involved in the case. He just really believes that Karen Reed is innocent.
Julie Nagel. Julie Nagel is the sister that's in the house and says, come get me.
Did she testify this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was like, I remember her, but it wasn't anything like crazy.
I think the defense has gotten smart in like, we're not going to dig into those people because they're not going to tell us anything new. But like Caitlin Albert, she's the one that they lived like an hour away.
Is she the niece?
Yes.
Okay.
And remember, he went home because she was going to stay the night at the Alberts. And then at like 2 a.m. she called him and was like, come get me right now.
Isn't he a plow truck driver too?
Yes, but in a different county.
Right.
So he was like, I have to go
home. Yeah.
Yep. And come get her. And she is also the one I think took Chloe that night.
Right.
Allegedly.
Right.
Don't come for me.
Yeah, because I think it is helpful to see all the people. It just baffles my mind that all these people testified in the first trial and not in the retrial.
Yeah. So someone who is noticeably not on here and probably a person you missed testify this week is Karen Kolakifis.
I did not see her.
So she was the very first witness for the prosecution in the last trial.
Damn.
She is also very good friends with Karen Reed. And I think the reason they didn't call her is because she is a very good witness for Karen Reed. She was at the bar that night. She did not go back to the house, but she was only talking to Karen Reed that night.
Do you think defense is going to call her as a witness?
They did. So she testified
did.
This week. Yep. She testified this week and said Karen was fine. She was sober. She wasn't sober, right? Like she drank. But Karen said even when they left, she was sober enough. I didn't think twice about her driving. She never seemed impaired. She never seemed inebriated. We talked all night. She said then at the end of the night, Karen was like, me and John are just going to go home and hang out. And she goes, that's what me and my husband were going to do. She said, I loved Karen and John because they were so sweet to each other. They treated each other better than most couples I know. They kiss each other on the forehead, blah, blah, blah. She said, then we got up to start leaving. And she explains how like, they're not really friends with Jennifer McCabe. And Jennifer McCabe came up and threw her arm around Karen and said, you're coming with me. Totally didn't invite the Kolakifises.
Bro.
Yeah.
And nobody want to be friends with no Jennifer McCabe,
No.
Okay?
And this lady said it was so weird because one, she didn't invite me. It was like she was only taking Karen Reed. She said, but Karen immediately looked at me like, I don't want to
Help.
go with this bitch.
Help
And
me.
then she said, I didn't hear anything more. And when I looked, Karen and John were leaving together. She said, so I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think they were going to the party. I
Right.
thought they were going home because that's what Karen told me she wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that lady was, to me, such a good witness because she's saying Karen was not shit-faced. She also wasn't mad at John. Like, she wasn't being this bitter girlfriend because they were sitting there talking about shit all night.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't really get into the style of it, but she wasn't like bashing John.
Right.
And so I find it so interesting that she wasn't brought this case by the prosecution. Again, both sides are bringing people smarter this time. They're like, we're not going to bring people that cause us issues and whatnot.
Well, yeah, and you want to bring people that are going to help your case, right?
Correct.
Like, this girl obviously was helping the defense's case, so the prosecution was like, yeah, let's not take her. Karen, she had such a good read on these fucking people, dude.
Mm-hmm.
She knew. She was like, I don't fucking like these people.
Yeah.
And good on her, because she freaking knew.
Yeah. I have one more thing I want to get into because I think this time next week, trial will be over. I think we'll know.
Oh my God, I'm scared.
I know. So this episode might go a little bit long.
I'm so terrified. Yeah, it's a little long.
It's okay. I'm going to show you these videos because I want you to see. Okay. So the company that the prosecution brought as their accident reconstructionists were from that company, Aperture. So the first guy gets on the stand, lied on his CV. By the way, I help write CVs.
What is a CV for people that don't know?
Okay.
Like me.
Yeah. A CV is a resume. And honestly, it's publication. So it includes your education.
Okay.
It starts with your name and stuff. And then it goes into your education, where you got your degree, how long it took you to get that degree, what you did while you got that degree. So it's just a little section about degrees. And then you go into your publications and writings and things you've been a part of. So that can be conferences, that can be studies. There's a section for studies. It's like a resume. So normally you have like a summary at the top of your resume. At the top of this, after your education, would be like why you're working on the project you're working on. It's basically saying, I want to work on this, hire me type thing, or partner with me, because they don't really hire each other. But all my doctors have these because they work in research. So when we are applying to grants and stuff, you need one to say, this is why I deserve this funding. This is why I deserve to get paid. Ding, ding. So this man gets on the stand and has been pursuing his bachelor's for 17 years. People wrote the university, hasn't been enrolled since 2011.
What?
You cannot claim you are pursuing a degree if you have not attended school since 2011. So what the defense did was they went on to he gave the CV, and the CV he gave was correct. Well, no, it technically wasn't. It said pursuing degree. So then they went to his LinkedIn where it said he had the degree. Then they went to his company website, Aperture, which also said he had the degree.
Interesting.
Because they went to his LinkedIn, he or Aperture was notified that people were looking at your account, went in and deleted his presence. So by the time he was on the stand the next morning, you can't click on anything. But you know what they did? They had screenshots. So it was great. And printouts. And so they were like able to show him, and they were like, you lied. And he goes, ultimately, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he had a degree or not. What matters is he lied.
Yeah.
So he didn't need the degree. He could have left that off of everything and never said a word about it. And his certifications stand for themselves.
Right.
But because he took the time to lie, it's such a big deal. So what I do in my practice, because I do write CVs and update CVs, is I'll review them for my doctors. I will change things. I will update them. I will send them a list of their recent publications or their most recent studies if need be, with all the information. And then we go back and forth a few times. They'll make comments on it. I'll make comments on it. I'll edit it down to a final draft. Every single time I am sending it back to them, I say, please review for accuracy and completeness. I do not know what date you went to college. I do not know what dates you have worked on this. I don't even know the science you worked on with this.
Yeah.
But I can read a document. And a lot of scientific documents like this to be used in court cases or research need to be layperson can understand. Geniuses are not reading your stuff. Right. So it has to be so that I can get it and understand it and know it's accurate and complete.
Mm-hmm.
That matters. If we ever send one to the government and it's not, and they find that out, they can take away funding.
Oh.
And it's happened. Anyways, not to us, but to other people.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, even if he had an admin, because he was like, I didn't write it. No, sir. Even if you have an admin, your admin doesn't know when you went to college. She also doesn't update your LinkedIn.
And also, you're the one approving what's on there.
Yeah. Also, you haven't been to college since 2011. So, nice try. The Emily D. Baker squad will find you out so
literally
fast.
These internet sleuths. It's wild what you can find out.
Mm-hmm. Literally. But yeah, no, it's insane. And I feel bad for him because I do understand how it works. I do understand he probably has an admin that wrote most of that for him. Also, his type of degree was wrong. The type of degree he had listed doesn't even exist at that university, which is another reason I always tell my doctors, please review. Okay, so I'm going to share with you clips of what the prosecution accident reconstructionist did and what the defense guy did. Very short. We won't go into detail because honestly, there's not much we need to differentiate. But what I will tell you is this man got up on the stand. He's the president of this company, Aperture. He is a accident reconstructionist. He got up there with his whole chest and did this for $400,000.
Whoa.
So the tax dollars of Canton paid for this man.
Dude, 400 grand?
And then he got up on the stand, and when they asked him about it, he played dumb. I would have to ask my accountants. Don't you own the company?
Bro, if you don't know you got 400 grand in your account.
He said, I actually don't know if we've gotten paid. And he was like, you have a contract, right? He goes, I think so. He goes, sir, isn't this your contract with your signature? And he's like, that does look like my signature. I'm like, oh, dude, please get off the stand. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to walk you through what his process was on testing this. So he bought a similar car. Okay, here it is. Okay. I'm sorry for all the shit on here. I tried to find a clip of this man and I wasn't going to go through court to try and find the real timestamps. But everything the defense expert does is because this man did this. So all they have to prove is that his theory doesn't work, right?
Right.
Prosecution bears the burden. You have to show me how it happened.
Right.
So the defense witnesses or experts, all they have to do is show how that is absolutely not possible. This man is the owner of the company, the guy testifying. This paint is like an oil paint. So this is how, because of John's arm, this is how he says his arm had to be positioned. He's also holding a glass.
Right.
Because the infamous glass that was found on the bumper. And John O'Keefe must have had a glass in his hand. Whatever.
Scuffing on the taillight. Here's a picture of Miss Reed's vehicle.
Hold on. He does a test.
But even a 2-mile-an-hour impact redirects me back and causes me to rotate and take a step.
$2 miles an hour, this car. Oh, where are you going, dude? This is his test.
Rona, can we approve?
Yes.
Brother, can we approach this?
Yes.
So
I don't see a broken taillight.
correct. Because this idiot says from the stand, this man's an engineer. They asked him how much G's of force would be needed to break the taillight. He says, I don't have enough data for that. You know what he did do though? If you don't know, he's wearing the same exact shirt, shoes, and jeans as John O'Keefe, which is weird. Because you know what he's not doing? Testing if he can be seen in the dark.
Yeah.
He also is about the same size as John O'Keefe. Also, fun fact that we didn't know until his cross-examination, the curb leading up to the grass in their yard, 4 inches. You know what he didn't account for? John O'Keefe standing in the yard.
Good Lord.
So his arm is at that position, not accounting for
The curve
John
that he's on.
O'Keefe's 4 inches of extra growth all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you that there were more studies, but this is what he did over and over and over
The same thing.
for $400,000 and 8 months of work. He did
Wow.
no calculations. He did no testing of G-forces. He did nothing.
And he gets to keep this money.
Mm-hmm. Regardless of how he testifies, regardless of how they feel it went, he has to get paid that money.
I got to get into this field. He seems like he doesn't know anything. I don't know anything either.
Literally.
400 grand to not know nothing
Mhm.
but to testify? I'm there.
Yeah. Let me see if I had any more timestamps that I felt were important on his, and then we'll move on to the defense because I just gotta show you. I am going to pull this up one more time and show you this man's PowerPoint because I can't explain how bad it is.
But also, if he had a sweater on, they think the taillight is going to scratch his arm through a sweater? It just doesn't make sense.
As someone who reviews scientific documents that I don't understand all the time,
Yeah.
this is so funny. Like, here's where the paint touches my arm.
Yeah.
And look, here's where John O'Keefe got hurt. And so this blue mark must have then been here on my arm. So must have been. What kindergarten art project is this?
Also, what about all the marks on the bottom of his arm? Where'd those come from?
Not only that, if your arm is like this, right? 90 degrees.
Yeah.
And I challenge everyone, put your arm 90 degrees, stand against your wall. Now, things that cause vertical lines on the top of your arm, if they were to continue down in the same pattern, what way would they make things on your forearm?
Mm-hmm.
Would they also be vertical or would they be horizontal?
Right.
Because that was the question the defense had, and this man seemed stumped. He was like, why would it be like that? It would be just like this. Just like what? What the hell are we looking at? What about that taillight going 2 miles an hour? So he testifies that anything over 8 miles an hour would have broke that taillight. You know what he doesn't know? How thick that taillight is.
Yeah. I saw a little bit of this about the thickness.
Doesn't say a freaking word. Mind you, y'all, this was... There's no glass in this casing. No glass in the taillight, right? So they found glass. Glass was later tested. No elements used in this casing are glass. And the glass does not match John O'Keefe's glass. Why is this man holding a glass? What does the glass have to do with anything? Because allegedly it was put there by somebody else. We don't know who. We don't know how.
He was like, the clothes and the glass, it makes it more accurate. Duh.
Yeah. But let me show you what you can get for $50,000.
They paid this man 400 grand
Mm-hmm.
The prosecution.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the defense paid $50,000 to get an actual expert.
Yeah.
Ha!
An expert that designs pads for the NHL.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So there are 2 experts that are going to come out of this testimony. And this is the first one. And he tests the elements. So he's more or less testing the car. So one thing he did is he bought all these taillights. He put a new taillight on this car every single time they did a reconstruction. But look at that thing. It's so beautiful. You know what I never thought about? The taillight piece on the tailgate.
Yeah. Same.
Never crossed my mind till this man brought this to the stage. And then I was like, oh, well, what was wrong with that piece? Did it get broken? Because I feel like if a body hit it, it might get broken there. Yeah. He states the outer covering is like 5 milliliters thick. Oh, by the way, this man wrote his thesis for his doctorate on acrylic. Do you know what taillights are made out of?
Acrylic.
Acrylic.
So this guy's an actual
expert in the literal material that is making up this component. So he explains the red part is like 3 to 5 millimeters thick. I don't remember because there's 2 layers. So the first layer I think is 5.
I believe the inner layer is 3.
Is 3. And the whatever he called them.
Oh, those like little dot areas?
The clear pieces, yeah, are like 3. Mind you, in all of their testing, those inner components were never broken.
Yep.
Oh, and you're probably wondering, do you mean they're 2 mile an hour back up into themselves testing?
No.
No. All right.
I love that he mentioned that 8 miles and over breaks the taillight, but only tested at 2 miles an hour.
I'm going to play this. I don't know if he says
through the PowerPoint, you will have an appreciation and understanding of what these concepts are. You'll see that I have plotted graphs with acceleration that shows the rate in that change in speed over time. You will see graphs of delta V, so the change in speed of the arm as it's being impacted by the taillight. And then ultimately we can calculate the force of that impact to be able to assess whether or not there's a mechanism for the injuries. And as I mentioned, that'll be my colleague, Dr. Rentschler, that will discuss that.
Can I ask you about delta V specifically?
Yeah, we're not going to go into that because that sounds boring. But I'm just going to take you through some of the testing he did because it's amazing. This man built a rocket. Well, first off, the scientific method. How important is that? I mean, let's get a round of applause for a man who can follow the scientific method when that's literally his job. All right, we'll go to the next one. Okay, so they also bought the exact same car.
Yeah.
But I will notice they replaced the taillight in between every single test. They built a cannon. So look, this is supposed to be John O'Keefe's arm. And then they have a taillight mounted somewhere over here. And then this thing is projecting the glass. Because all they knew was that glass had been found on the car. So their thought was, maybe John threw the glass at the car. So they built this thing. Look, they have fast motion cameras. Look how many. I count 1, 2, 3. I think there's a camera down here. 4. I think there might be one up here. 5 or 6 cameras. And they just practiced throwing this glass over and over, which they later find out that it had to have been thrown at like 35 miles an hour.
Wow.
To replicate the damage. And the damage does match. If a glass was in fact thrown at Karen Reed's car at 35 miles an hour, her taillight being as broken as it is makes sense. Say like if maybe it was in the Sally port and people were trying to recreate what they wanted to say happened, and in order to break it without putting their hands on the vehicle, maybe they threw a glass.
Mm.
Then they ran these tests where they had the tail light attached to that. So without the car.
Right.
They had the tail light attached to that cannon and they would hit the wrist. They did it at, I believe, 10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour, 19 miles an hour, 20, 24, and 29 miles an hour. And they did the same thing with the car later on. So in all of this, the damage never matches. The sweater never breaks. So in all of these tests.
Yeah.
Then
'cause
we get,
how did the sweater get holes like that from a tail light?
literally. Yes. And still, nobody knows. Right? Like, that's what's still wild. So then they're like, but did you keep it cold? Because it was cold outside. Yes, they did. They kept a freezer. This testing may have been for the FBI.
Yeah.
So this may have been a little bit more expensive, but the testing we go on to do with the other car, $50,000. So this, we don't know. We'll never know. Worth $1 million, honestly.
That man that got 50,000, he got robbed. Somebody give that man a little bit more money, okay?
Just the company. Just the company got $50,000. So he probably isn't even getting $50,000. He had to ask an accountant. You asked an accountant at a company you don't own, and the man who's the CEO, president of this other company, refuses to talk to accountants? Whatever.
Jeez.
So yes, they kept the taillights cold, and before they would test them, before every single test, they would measure how cold it was with a picture.
Beautiful.
And then when they move outside, they roll that freezer outside with them
Yeah.
to keep shit cold. Then they have an officer, as they install it onto the car, holds bags of dry ice on it to keep it the temperature.
Wow. So these are like super accurate tests
Yeah.
as opposed to
and they
what we looked at before.
They documented every one, because if you weren't listening, the prosecution's witness said, well, I didn't document the ones that were wrong.
Oh my God.
The hell does that mean? Well, I didn't want to come up here and you be able to question me about things that didn't make sense. No, that's what science is, sir. It's literally science. Okay. So now we're going to go 317. I just kind of like found screen grabs that I was like, this seems like a good time.
Yeah.
Like just things for you to look at. So this is kind of what he was talking about. So what test C was the 15 mile an hour. So he is showing these are the amount of time. So that's the other thing. It takes like a millisecond for this to happen.
Yeah.
Not long enough for anything. Like he said, faster than a human blink is how quickly this accident would happen. And the way physics works. Okay, so this one right here would be the car.
Right.
Impact, hand. So whatever speed the car is going, when it hits the hand then continues
Right.
at that speed. The kinetic energy shifts. The other guy said he didn't care about numbers, but that's okay.
Oh,
We'll just pretend he didn't say that.
Great science, guys. You know what this still doesn't prove too is even if, say, she did hit him, how did his body end up where it ended?
Correct. This expert says none of this evidence ever showed he was hit by a car.
Yeah.
He wasn't hit by a car.
No.
Because they asked him, well, then what speed was he hit at? No, you're not listening to me.
He was not hit
Donald
by a
Trump
car.
Was not hit by a car. So what speed would have created these, sir? You can ask me that question 100 different ways. We don't figure out the speed he was hit at if we can scientifically show there is no evidence he was hit by a car.
Right.
And the wrist was more of the hybrid arm suspended in this area here.
Camera view.
Is this a video or just a still shot?
This is a drone video.
Let's go ahead and play that.
Nice.
So here's the final test at 29 miles an hour. So in their testing, remind you, They replace the taillight every time. They keep it cold. Then they back it into this guy who is standing there, whatever. I don't think they put a glass in his hand because
He can't hold a
it's not
glass.
necessary. They back it into him. So that damage that we see that I showed, but we'll come up to it again, is the damage that 29 miles an hour does to that car. You know what's not broken?
The right side of the
Damn
freaking
taillight.
taillight.
The tailgate is
Uh-huh.
destroyed. So that's what happens at 29 miles an hour. And I just look at this.
It's fully intact. Not even broken one bit.
Their dummy was positioned where Dr. Wrenchler, nope, that's the other guy that's going to testify, sorry. Dr. Welcher says he had to have been standing for him to get those marks.
Yeah.
What makes me the most mad about that whole thing is this guy is only studying the damage to the vehicle. He's studying the physics of the car. He is not studying what happened to John O'Keefe.
Yeah.
Dr. Welcher, or Wrenchler, sorry, Lord God. This guy's Dr. Wolf. Prosecution's witness is Dr. Welcher. And then the next witness will be Dr. Wrenchler. Why they couldn't
Jeez.
find somebody with like a D name or something? Anyways, so Dr. Wrenchler will be testifying. He is a biomedical person.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You'll see him this week, I'm sure. He will be testifying as to what the injuries were and why they are or are not lined up with this. Anyways,
Okay.
he's going to say these are not car injuries. Here's what the car injury would look like is going to be my guess. The biggest critique Brennan had on his cross of this doctor was that he wouldn't he wouldn't say what caused John's injuries. And I have a pretty strong feeling he's not going to ask the other guy those same questions.
Of course not.
Not the biomedical guy.
No.
But
wouldn't
I
want
do, his other biggest critique was, you used an arm that weighs this much.
Hmm.
And he said, do you know that John's arm weighed this much? And they don't match. But we learned when the defense came up to recross that nobody actually weighed John's arm.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how the hell
No.
do they know that?
They don't. It's just statistically, it most likely would be.
Yeah.
So you're telling me the guy who makes stuff for the NHL, like makes pads to protect men who are stereotypically large,
Mm-hmm.
that this doesn't work because he didn't know your guy didn't measure John's arm.
Yeah.
Medical examiner didn't measure John's arm. Like, if that's your biggest critique of this man, which really he didn't even say, he said, you chose not to use one that weighed as much as John's arm.
Yeah.
But nobody actually knows how much it weighs. This for me is the most, she didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, we already know. And even if we didn't know and we think she might have done it, evidence has been tampered with in some way or another or not kept secure, allegedly. So, me seeing this, though, tells me she didn't do it.
Yeah. And even that set aside, like evidence aside, every one of those people in that house has either destroyed their phones, deleted their phones. People that are innocent do not do that. If you're innocent and you're being questioned, you're going to say, here's my phone. Do whatever you want with it. Look at whatever you want with it. You know what you're not going to do when you're innocent? You're not going to destroy your phone and put it 2 different places. That to me, dude, The fact that they are not putting Higgins on this stand drives me
Wild.
crazy. Yeah.
Okay. So Karen Reed is alone in her car, says these two people, and her taillight is intact. These two people watch the door. Someone comes out of this door, walks the length of the yard, talks to them for 5 minutes, then walks back in. Again, Karen is alone.
Mm-hmm.
There are two people in this truck, and this girl also says she never sees John. What you don't know is if you walk in this door, there is an entrance to the basement, supposedly like right here,
Mm-hmm.
which is where it is believed Higgins, Albert, and John O'Keefe are,
Yeah.
and the dog, because that's where they would keep her locked. And then if something were to happen in the basement, there is a door leading out the back that would bring you around the side of the house. I just, looking at this picture, I just don't. Karen is alone in her car.
Yeah.
And so many people confirm that. And her taillight is intact.
Right.
Anyways, that's how I feel about Karen Reed case. And I'm telling y'all, if that woman goes to jail, I'm gonna be who's breaking her out with me?
Right.
I don't even know the woman. She honestly could be a trash person. She doesn't deserve to be in prison for this.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you guys so much for being here. We do have a Karen Reed playlist at this point. If you want to go listen to everything we've said about Karen Reed, please forgive us for our first few videos and how the quality was.
Yes.
We've improved a lot since then.
We're getting better.
Yeah. But thank you so much for coming and listening to us. I do think this is our most
put together
thing on Karen Reed.
Yeah.
Because we have like been able to see so much of the trial and been able to like hash out so many ideas, and yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah. We will see you all next week.
Yes.
Either with Karen Reed or some other story we've conjured up.
Yeah. And thank you all for continually listening. Make sure to like, comment, share. If you have somebody that they keep telling you Karen Reed's guilty, send them this.
Yeah.
Send it to them.
Send them the link to our Spotify or our YouTube channel, and just say, follow along with all the Karen Reed videos we've ever done.
Yeah, and there are a lot of places we know you can get Karen Reed updates, and so thank you for being here if you're here, because we just like to talk about it like lay people and not lawyers or experts.
I was gonna say, I've watched a lot and I've tried to find a lot that wasn't in a courtroom, and some of them are boring.
But yeah, I will be watching every second of court this week because I'm not missing any of this.
And that's beautiful. But we will see all of you next week.
Yep. Thanks for staying. Well, coming for the chaos and the Karen Reed of it all, and staying for the company. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.